The X-44 Manta, a cutting-edge experimental aircraft, represents a significant leap in the evolution of aerial warfare technology. Developed by Lockheed Martin under the auspices of the United States Air Force and NASA, this aircraft integrates advanced flight control systems and aerodynamic designs to redefine maneuverability and efficiency in the skies. The design and development journey of the X-44 Manta demonstrates a rigorous and innovative approach, spearheaded by Lockheed Martin and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, aiming to redefine the parameters of fighter jet agility and stealth. The development process heavily relied on sophisticated computer simulations and wind tunnel tests to refine the aircraft's design and validate the integration of these technologies. Engineers employed computational fluid dynamics to predict how the aircraft would perform under various flight conditions, using these insights to enhance the design for both performance and stealth. The X-44 was designed to be able to carry an array of powerful weapons. The aircraft was meant to feature a single 20mm internal cannon, and it would have been capable of firing 2 AM-9 Sidewinder missiles. The jet could also carry up to 6 AM-120 AMRAAM missiles, which could be outfitted with 2,000 GBU 32 Joint Direct munitions. The aircraft's design aimed to support a wide range of payloads, from advanced sensors and communication systems to weaponry, thus ensuring versatility across a spectrum of mission profiles. In anticipating the future of aerial warfare, the X-44 Manta project sought to establish a blueprint for next-generation fighter jets that would maintain air superiority with a blend of stealth, speed, and agility. The integration of such a platform into the United States defense arsenal was expected to provide a strategic edge, enhancing the capability to respond swiftly and effectively to emerging threats around the globe. Last year, the U.S. Air Force shocked the world with the announcement that they had already designed, built, and tested a prototype aircraft out of their next-generation air dominance program. This new jet promises to be more advanced than any fighter to ever come before it, designed to not only do battle with the advanced fifth-generation fighters being churned out by America's opponents in Russia and China, but to dominate them for decades to come. While the U.S. Air Force's now airborne 6th-gen NGAD demonstrator has not been publicly seen for security reasons, early defense industry renderings showed tailless, completely horizontal, stealthy airframes consistent with these initial conceptual visions of the X-44 Manta. At right around the same time, the Air Force also unveiled a birthday-celebrating image seemingly showing a wedge-shaped aircraft with no conventional tail section, prompting some to wonder if the artist's handiwork had anything to do with the NGAD announcement that came alongside it. Since then, other official images out of the Air Force, along with renderings from prominent aviation firms like Lockheed Martin, have all shown similar wedge-shaped aircraft. In fact, based on some artist renderings and the practical limitations of developing a new fighter on a short fuse, the X-44 Manta may represent an early iteration of what has or will become at least part of America's next prize fighter in the sky. The premise behind the X-44 Manta was to build an even better stealth fighter than the F-22 Raptor, and in no uncertain terms, that is precisely the stated aim of the NGAD program. However, it's also important to note that the X-44 concept was born in 1999, making its design just about as dated as the F-35, and the fighter's NGAD will be tasked with killing the Chinese J-20 and Russian Su-57, both of which also began development in the late 1990s and early 2000s. In other words, simply dusting off the X-44 concept and pushing it into production really wouldn't meet the needs of the NGAD program. Of course, because so much of the X-44 is based on the out-of-production F-22, kicking off that production line would be about as expensive as simply starting from scratch with a new fighter anyway. The X-44's name, or more appropriately, its acronym, gets straight to the intent behind the concept: After decades of rapid fighter development, some things had simply come to be considered standard fare for a capable tactical aircraft, things like a conventional tail section with vertical and horizontal control surfaces, while both the F-22 and later the F-35 adopted slightly different tails than you'd find on a non-stealth fourth-generation fighter like the F-16. The X-44 Manta aimed to pull off the same sort of maneuverability without the need for all those tail surfaces. With no tail section, the aircraft's radar return would be dramatically reduced, creating an even stealthier fighter than America's highly capable F-22. Put in its simplest terms, thrust vector control offers the ability to aim or point the nozzle of the jet engine. In some platforms, like the F-22 Raptor, that nozzle aiming is done on a single plane, up or down, while in other jets like Russia's fourth-generation Su-35, the nozzle can move in 360 degrees, offering even more dramatic options when it comes to rapidly shifting directions. In a head-on engagement, the F-22 Raptor's thrust vectoring can allow the pilot to point the nose and weapons of the fighter down at an enemy jet as it passes by, all while continuing to push in the same original direction. In a close-up scrap between two fighters who are trying to successfully turn tighter than the other to get weapons lock, that same thrust vectoring capability allows jets like the F-22 and Su-35 to change directions far more aggressively than any advanced jet without thrust vector controls can. Because the concept wasn't being pursued as a clean sheet fighter development program, but rather as a technology demonstrator effort, starting from scratch on an aircraft design didn't seem practical. Instead, Lockheed Martin volunteered the F-22 Raptor. While not the most recent stealth fighter out of Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works, the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter began test flights 3 years prior. The F-22 was and is America's best and most capable fighter when it comes to engaging enemy jets. It also already boasts thrust vector control, making it a logical choice for an experiment so focused on that specific capability. The X-44 Manta wasn't the only F-22-based concept rolling around at the Pentagon at the time. As the world's first operational stealth fighter, the first fighter to christen the new fifth generation of jets, and arguably the most potent air superiority aircraft ever to fly in service for any nation, it makes sense that the United States would have considered leaning into the F-22 program for other, more specialized roles. While the X-44 concept aimed to saw off its tail and make the F-22 even sneakier, the Sea Raptor effort would have placed F-22s aboard America's fleet of supercarriers, offering a jet that could fly faster, further, while carrying more ordnance than the F-35Cs now destined for Uncle Sam's flat tops. But even the incredible F-22 could be even better if it could be even stealthier, and that's where a tailless Delta design could have produced real results. If the X-44 Manta could have offered similar performance to the F-22, while also being even harder to detect, it may have been enough to push this aircraft concept off of Lockheed's notebook pages and into their production facilities. But it wasn't just stealth the X-44 did better. It also carried a whole lot more hate. While the tailless wedge shape of the X-44 Manta would benefit its stealth profile, it also came with some other significant advantages over America's existing stealth fighters, like payload capacity and range. America's F-22 Raptor can carry a maximum of 6 air-to-air weapons internally, and the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter is limited to just 4. But the broad fuselage of the wedged-shaped X-44 would almost certainly have allowed for far more ordnance, both in terms of carrying space inside the aircraft and overall payload capability as a measure of lift and fuel economy. Like most questions made about NGAD at this point, there's no real way to definitely say for sure that the X-44 has been a part of the conversation leading up to fielding the F-22's replacement. However, there are some parallels we can draw between the intent behind the X-44 and the goals in place for NGAD. But that's not to say the X-44's DNA won't find its way into the Air Force's next top dog. As Air Force renderings have repeatedly shown, the branch seems intent on a wedge-shaped, tailless design for the NGAD. Many analysts have indeed pointed to the similarities between this concept and Northrop's very real YF-23. But it's important to note that these design images of the X-44 actually bear a stronger resemblance to what the NGAD is proposed to look like. So if Northrop's old stealth fighter is in this fight, it seems logical that so are advanced iterations of Lockheed's more successful one. If you enjoy content like this, please go ahead and like and subscribe to this video because I appreciate all your support.